Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Xtreme Motorsports INDYCAR Championship Series. This is round number 3 of this season, coming to you tonight from Indianapolis. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Adam Thomsen. Joshua Wilkie is our producer for tonight's broadcast, using cameras by Whiplash SimCams. For the first oval of this season, and the first oval race in the history of this series, in fact, it just had to be Indy, and it's rather fitting that we're running here as well. It was on Thursday, August 19th of 1909 when Bob Berman, driving a Buick, won the very first auto race here at Indy, which was a 250-mile, 100-lap-long race. 116 years later, in a much different form, we've got a 100-lap-long race in front of us here this evening. Adam, we have 2 road courses up to this point in the season, but tonight's race is going to be a whole different kettle of fish.
Well, we're at the historic home of IndyCar racing, and what a beautiful track this is. This 2.5-mile track will test every bit of your driving knowledge. Not only do you have to be quick, you have to be able to manipulate the air, you got to keep the car steady throughout the corners, and you got to worry about dirty air now, and also cautions. We're going to actually have actual cautions in the XMS INDYCAR Series here tonight, as we are on board here with Bailey Piotrowski, our pole sitter from last week, who finished second last week. Another thing to keep in mind is going to be the fact that no push the pass, no tire changes. This is just straight up a straightforward race. Just everybody on the same tires, everybody on the same strategies pretty much. And it's just a matter of just getting to the end and keeping your foot to the floor. As Piotrowski now coming through turns 3 and 4, doing one of the most cardinal sins you can do in an IndyCar, and I hope that's not an accurate depiction, as my voice cracked. That is going in 6th gear around this track in qualifying. You want to be shifted down to 5th and he will be the first person to put up a time, and he's going to go second quickest. Neil Weston with quick time here with a 39.47. Now, and then Charles Hosea right now with a 39.603. Leo Dragata put up a 39.6. So now we're just waiting for some other runners. Now, what's really interesting about the IndyCar, I don't think this is actually going to apply tonight, but if you actually have not watched IndyCar qualifying on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway oval, it's usually the averages of 4 laps. I think tonight we're just running 2, if I am recalling correctly here tonight, Ron.
Well, that's actually a very good segue into talking about the different qualifying format that we have for the first oval race of this season, and this format will remain for the rest of the ovals that we have here from Season 1 of the XMS IndyCar Championship Series. 5-minute long solo session. These drivers have 3 laps at their disposal, but here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, those laps can go by in the blink of an eye, at least from us in the broadcast booth. From these drivers' perspectives behind the wheel, it is going to be the most stressful period of time. We're seeing these drivers in real life ramp up for IndyCar qualifying coming up this weekend, but here in the sim, these drivers are just as tense, trying to bring these cars to the ragged edge of control. Neil Weston, yet to grab a pole thus far this season, is your current provisional pole sitter. Leo Dragata, who skipped out on the last round of the championship at the road course 1 week ago here at Indy, is currently slotted in 6th, as Josh Chinsky jumping up to the front. That's a 39.243. Waiting for these drivers to set some of the last lap times on the board. Sophia Connell looking like she has a good lap time in the number 11 car, jumps up to the pole, and it will be an intense, quick qualifying session now with a tick under a minute and a half left to go.
So yeah, a good lap there by Sophia Connell at 39.2. That's actually a very good time. It's going to be really tough to beat, I think, here as we are riding on board here with Eduardo Lorente as he comes across the line to finish his final lap, and he will go 9th quickest here. Can Joshua Chinsky bring anything back? The one thing about oval racing in the IndyCar, the minute you take your first lap, you want to make sure that that is your lap that you need to put on the board, because the tires lose their energy. You do not get quicker throughout the session. This is not like Indy road course racing where you can find the time and get faster. That is not the case here. Once you put up that lap, generally you're going to be losing about 2 to 3 tenths on that second lap. And yep, he comes into the pits as I was thinking he was going to do, because he definitely was not improving. And it looks like Sophia Connell will be our pole sitter unless Stephen May, who has put up a lap, and Joseph, we have a newcomer here. Joseph Gravala? Puts up a time.
I believe it may be Gravala.
We'll have to find that out. And he
the
doesn't
driver of
even
the number
get a time
47 car. Yeah, I think he decided to bail out on that qualifying attempt. So that will do it for qualifying. The solo session gonna end right after we tick past the 5-minute timer. Sophia Connell grabbing her first pole position of the season in the number 11 car. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back to give you a quick preview for the race ahead.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sports Car Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org. search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting for the XMS INDYCAR Series. And joining us here in the broadcast booth is Sophia Connell, our pole sitter here at Indianapolis. Sophia, just talk us through this lap a little bit here as you're going into turn 2.
Yeah, so I mean, basically your goal here is, you know, to get as low as possible and not scrub, not kind of take the car down. I actually scrub a little bit here, critiquing my own pole lap. And then you want to get yourself set up here. I used the start of the safer barriers guide to turn in. Didn't get as low as I could have there, and then, you know, kind of square up turn 4 as much. Could have gotten deep a little lower. But again, you want to really watch the scrub. I mean, that's the main thing, is just keeping your momentum going and going and going. And I've been doing 500Q. And like for a short session like this, the procedures look different. And so, you know, knowing those differences is just the smallest of margins. I mean, I think I was only like 100th faster than Chinsky. So, yeah, it's really in those like small preparation margins.
Well, what is your strategy now? You're going to have the clean air at the start of this race. That's a huge advantage around Indianapolis.
I want to be the second place car. I don't... you know, the amount of fuel you burn in clean air is just way higher. I don't want to be up front. I wanted the pole for the championship points because that helps me with, you know, the gulf between me and Menino. But it really comes down to no. I want to be sitting back in the catbird seat, saving fuel, not you know, setting the pace. I feel like that's sorry, I didn't mean to be a little rude there, but no, I'm like, no, I don't want to lead this. I just want the bonus points.
Well, congratulations, Sophia, on the pole position, and good luck tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
And that right there was Sophia Connell, your pole sitter for this race here at Indy tonight. Round number 3 of the XMS INDYCAR Championship Series. And Adam, this is going to be a fantastic race. 100 laps, 250 miles. As Sophia just said, fuel saving going to be a big factor, and those pit stops going to be huge.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, I want to talk about the start of this race. If you're in the middle of that pack, the dirty air that comes off these cars on ovals, and we're going to be using this term quite a lot tonight, the aero wash. That's when the car gets into the dirty air and you just wash up the track. And on a high-speed race course like this, it's definitely going to be a huge factor. You're going to see guys wash up wide. They're going to crash into the wall, and we're going to see, that's where we're going to see our cautions tonight. So, but a very good race ahead of us. It's going to be absolutely exciting. And I think we are ready for our starting lineup, Ron.
Yeah, let's take a look at the starting grid for the third round of the championship and the first oval of this season as well. It's going to be Sophia Connell grabbing her first pole position of this season, keeping on that streak of separate pole sitters thus far here in Season 1. Josh Chinsky, Series admin, will join her on the front row. It's going to be Jake Mackey in the number 60 car starting this race in third. Next is Stephen Hudek, the Canadian, in fourth. Jake Vasconcelos will start in fifth. Caleb Lehman will start in sixth. We have Wyatt Franklin in seventh. Neil Weston in P8. Charlie Hosea will start in ninth alongside Bailey Pietraszewski, who was your pole sitter last time out on the road course and finished second in that race as well. Eduardo Lorente will start this race in P11 alongside Leo Dragado, returning to the series in the 118 in 12th. Stephen May will be the last of the cars to set a qualifying time, with Joseph Grivala starting this race in P14 in the number 47 car. That is your starting grid, and this is going to be an absolute barn burner of a race. I mentioned the pit stops. They're going to be huge. We've seen drivers both in real life and in the sim throw away their chances at a victory because of a mistake on pit lane, either speeding on entry or maybe just having a miscued strategy call. But I think avoiding the chaos may be important as well, Adam.
It's going to be absolutely crucial. This is one of those tracks that things happen so quick, and you got to be absolutely on your toes and be able to have a good, quick reaction. Of course, that's just part of it. You're not gonna, you're gonna see guys trying to go around the outside in corners. That's how people crash, is by making moves too early in this race, by trying to go on the outside through turns 1 and 2. And of course, beginning of the race, I would expect a little bit of calamity to happen, but it's all going to come down to who is going to get to the front first, who's going to control this race. I think Sophia Connell, I think she's going to be in with a big shot tonight, starting on the pole.
And Sophia Connell looking to make some inroads in that championship as well. The 2-time race winner here thus far this season of Dave Menino, not here tonight. He even said that in the chat that we had with him at the end of that Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course race just 1 week ago. We're going the correct way, heading down that start-finish straightaway at this absolute gem of a racetrack. 2.5 miles baked with history, and these drivers in this series about to put on a barn burner. 100 laps of racing action in front of us at the greatest racetrack in the world. That pace car peeling down pit lane, the field now in the hands of our pole sitter of Sophia Connell, waiting for that green flag to come out, which it has now, and the drivers are on their way. We're already going 3 wide, a little bit farther in the back. Some drivers having a miscue at the very start of this race, but Sophia Connell leading them, heading down into turn at number 1. A black flag for Caleb Lehman in the number 42. That's going to be a disastrous start for him. He started a little bit farther up toward the front, but sadly for him, he is going to drop down like a rock because of that black flag as they head their way down the back straightaway for the first time. It's Sophia Connell in the race lead. Josh Shinsky slot in P2, Mackie, Vasconcelos, and Hudek rounding out your top 3 with some close racing and wall banging heading through 3.
Oh, that was absolutely almost disastrous there by Caleb Lehman, who's now into the pit lane. And also the car behind him in the car 100, Charles Hosea. He got into the wall, got that aero wash washed up the track, and almost caused carnage here. But Caleb Lehman, penalties got to come from passing on the inside before the start-finish line. That is absolutely detrimental, because that's a very long penalty, and you're going to go a lap down. Now an inside pass by the number 18 of, I can't quite see the number, but that's a 60, of Jake Mackey. Mackey was looking down the inside, couldn't quite make that move stick. And then Jake Vasconcelos right behind and trying to make a move. That's the number 10 car down the inside to turns 1 and 2. That's going to shove out Mackie wide. He is going to be struggling through these corners, still side by side, almost 3 wide, coming off of turn number 1, now into turn number 2. And these guys going absolutely side by side. Almost got into a huge crash there into the wall, and now almost 3 wide down the back straight. And of course, Stephen Huddock, he is currently in that 5th spot. He is looking to clean up some of the pieces from this racing, but obviously still no caution here in the opening 3 laps here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
And coming to start lap 4 with Sophia Connell still in the race lead, but there's a hornet's nest forming right behind. You can see Charlie Hosea in the number 100 car. He's running right in the tow as we take a look back at the front of the field and follow this chaos at the north end. Sophia Connell and Josh Shinsky heading through the south end of the circuit, practically nose to tail, trying to build a bit of a gap in between themselves and Jake Vasconcelos in the number 10 car. He's trying to fend off any sort of challenges from the likes of Stephen Hudek, who goes to the inside down into turn number 3. The driver of the 44 car looking to get a move done to jump his way up into the podium spots, side by side through the north end through turn number 1. Vasconcelos holding on to the outside line. Hudek not going to have a good run heading down that start finish straightaway. He will put back in the draft. Heading down there now, gonna try and maybe go for a move yet again down into turn number 1. Vasconcelos, meanwhile, looking for some clean air on the front nose of that number 10 car as he sees his teammate and Sophia Connell, your pole sitter, still battling hard.
Everybody's still separated by just over a second from 1st to 13th. You can just see that these guys are in it to win it at this point. Sophia Connell just out in front, controlling the pace a little bit. They did say they didn't want to be the pace setter, but right now that's exactly what's happening to them. Wyatt Franklin going down to the 5th spot, and now Bailey Piotrowski moving up into 7th. here on lap number 6. And now you can see Neil Wesson. He's trying to make some inroads up through the field here. And you're seeing some guys taking some different lines here. Wyatt Franklin takes the outside line, trying to avoid that arrow wash. And that can be very dangerous, especially later into this race. Those marbles are going to build up. And almost a massive run there by Wyatt Franklin. He had to lift off the gas for just a moment and get back in line. He didn't want to make the move too early, especially going into turns 3 and 4. Now you can see everybody just following along. This is how you win oval races. You're just riding. Now we have a pass for the lead here. It's Joshua Chinsky down the front straight. Joshua Chinsky, now your race leader here on lap number 7.
And Jake Vasconcelos nearly tried to go for a move as well down into turn number 1. That could have ended an absolute disaster for the two of them. Sophia Connell still remaining in P2. Probably not going to fight this too much. Hang down the back straightaway off into turn number 3. The number 13 of Wyatt Franklin, though, he's looking to try and get a move done on Hudak as a little bit farther in front. That Sophia Connell gang shuffled back down to 3rd. Vasconcelos went for a dive on her heading down into turn number 3. It's now an SRT Esports 1 and 2. Chinsky and Vasconcelos lead this race, and it was their teammate in the form of Dave Menino who's won the 2 races up to this point. They're swapperoon at the front of the field. We see this a lot in real life. These drivers looking to get that good fuel number in the early stages of this race. Haven't even scraped lap 10. So these drivers, despite the fact they're still very early on into the race, I think they're trying to get some good fuel numbers. That could be part of the reason why Sophia Connell's not really fighting this issue too much. She said it in the interview that we had with her as we were taking a look at her pole lap here at Indy. She's content running in the draft, getting the slipstream, but because she punched the hole in the air in the opening stages, she may not have the best fuel numbers. In fact, of all the drivers in this field, with the exception of Caleb Lehman, who's running all by himself down P14, she probably has one of the worst.
I was about to say that as well here. And we got a caution on lap number 9 here of 100 laps around this 2.5 mile oval. And who is that? It's Joseph Gravala, I think, as he is in the pits, had to have experienced some arrow wash and into the wall he goes. You know, you can see no front end of the car. And let's take a look at the replay. Going down the front straight, hits the wall, goes inside. How in the world did that happen? That is unfortunate for Joseph Gravala. And his day is pretty much all said and done. If you are not on the lead lap throughout the majority of this race, you are never going to get it back. And of course, as these cars very fragile, that's the end of the day for Joseph Gravala. So we get our first caution here. So everybody will line up single file. Now, for those of you who are new to IndyCar racing, watching at home, they do not do double file restarts. They do single file restarts, which we will see happen here. Not if you were watching the slow motion broadcast a couple weeks ago around Indianapolis. We decided double file restarts was a smart thing. But Jake Vasconcelos, your race leader, with Joshua Chinsky in 2nd, Sophia Connell in 3rd. And for Sophia Connell, this is actually a save for her, because now they can just put that fuel map up into fuel map 8, save some fuel, and try and get to the end of this run before they're going to be left in the dust here, Ron. So definitely a good timing on this caution here on lap number 10.
And very good timing as well for Caleb Lehman in the number 42 car, is now going to get back into this race. I mean, after qualifying a little bit farther towards the front of the field, that's going to give him an opportunity to flex his muscles, as here comes the rest of the field. Everybody making the call to pit at the north end. Jake Vasconcelos in the 10 car will lead them down as they trundle their way into the pits. Yellow flag pit stops. These drivers won't have to worry about hitting that pit limiter too much. Come time for green flag pit stops, they're gonna have to worry about that in spades. But here under yellow, it's a bit more relaxed. Just want to hit your marks as you go into your pit stall. Vasconcelos didn't. He has to back up big time and he is having an awful time. He can't get into his pit stall. Chinsky going to jump up into the race lead. Sophia Connell slot in P2. Vasconcelos is still trying to find his way to get into his pit box. At this point, he may as well just pull out of pit lane and come back in next time. A heartbreaking series of events for Jake Vasconcelos.
That is absolutely heartbreaking, going from the lead of the race all the way back down to 12th. Edgar Lorente also having struggles in pit lane. He has been there for a long time now, down in 13th. And you got to wonder if maybe there's some damage or something that he had during that run, if that's causing it to him to stick a little bit around, because that's just not just tires and fuel. There had to be some damage, or he had some struggles like Vasconcelos did. But now that puts Joshua Chinsky back out in front, with Sophia Connell directly behind. Stephen Huddock right now up another spot. He's into P3. Our hard charger so far, Bailey Piotrowski, up 5 positions as well.
Is he okay? I think he's maybe. Yeah, there we go. He's blinking in and out. So I was about to say the immediate commentator's jinx.
Okay, I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I think presently for Bailey Piotrowski, he is blinking in and out of existence wildly. I think he had problems very similar to this at Indy and potentially even at Portland for the opening race of this championship. Eduardo Lorente, I should say, has come back down pit lane, the number 91 car, so clearly something amiss with that car, currently slotted in 13th. The lights are out on the pace car, so we will be returning to racing action in a couple of moments' time. And breaking out the Indy 500 trivia, there was one time that they tried to go with double file restarts, and that was 2011. And the absolute barn burner of a centennial race that was, of course, Dan Weldon winning it after J.R. Hildebrand hit the wall coming out of turn number 4 right at the very end of that race. That was a decision that was met with a lot of fanfare from the fans and a lot of anger from the drivers and team owners. So they have not tried double file restarts at the Indy 500 since, and not going to have that here in this race for round number 3 of the Xtreme Motorsports INDYCAR Championship Series here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And to all of you tuning into this broadcast, happy to hit that like button, subscribe here to SMB. Also hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. That's Eduardo Lorente. He's finally exiting pit lane in the number 91 car. Not sure where he will be once we get the green flag back out here in a couple of moments' time. But Josh Chinsky will be the lead car when we get the restart on lap lucky number 13. That's a bad omen. If ever you see it, I'm sure these drivers are going to hope for a clean restart. The first one of this season and the first one of this race. The green flag is back out, and Chinsky's gunning it down into turn number 1. Short shifting up through the gears, carrying so little speed compared to how these drivers did a little bit earlier on in the race. You can see them single file, maybe going to flare out and go side by side, heading down the back straightaway here in a couple of moments' time. But Josh Chinsky losing his sparring partner in all of that. Jake Vasconcelos dropping down to P11 as a result of that pit cycle. You can see him trying to get moved on Stephen May a little bit farther in the back and shot. But now that Chinsky is alone as the only SRT esports driver inside of the top 5, I wonder, Adam, will he feel a bit more under pressure?
Well, it all depends here on this opening lap. After the restart, Joshua Chinsky leading the way with Sophia Connell in second, Stephen Huddock in third. A little bit of action behind here. Leo Dragotta right now in that 8th spot. Was thinking about making a move, decides against it. But also, there were some guys who fell off the back of the pack. That includes Jake Vasconcelos. I gotta wonder, did you get that fuel map turned down back down to 1? Is that they were not going at race speed. Just seemed like a little bit slow in the engine modes, and now they are catching back up here. Joshua Chinsky, what is his plan here? Is he gonna have to maybe think about letting Sophia Connell lead this race, waste some more fuel? But everybody back on the same fuel strategy here, with now on lap 15 of 100 laps around this 2.5-mile oval, an original oval, we should say. You hear everybody talk about, on NASCAR and other ovals, you have turns 1 and 2 on one end, 3 and 4 on the other. This has 4 actual turns, as now you can see down the inside, Jacob Mackey trying to defend, slides up. No. Can't make the move happen for Jake Mackey. Dragata right now kind of trying to just defend a little bit here, but he's losing that inside line. Now, the inside line, absolutely crucial to get to in these corners, as the 118, excuse me, the 60 car. Is it just me, or are numbers a little messed up? I see 60 on the side of the car, but I see 118 as well. Oh. Well, that makes it very difficult. Oh, that was close, but the man. 118 getting by Jake Mackey now, and Mackey going backwards on that outside line. That outside line can be absolutely detrimental. Especially as this race goes on, the marbles are going to form, and it's going to.
Oh no! Huge one. Vasconcelos in the catch fence, heading through turn number 1. A race that had gone so well for so long, went poorly with a pit stop, and now it ends here in turn number 1 with a monstrous collision. It's himself and Jake Mackey getting called out and all that. The yellow flag's out for the second time in this race, and they brought it out in absolutely spectacular fashion. Vasconcelos with a wild ride. It was wheel-to-wheel contact as they headed their way down that start-finish straightaway off into turn number 1. Popping up into the air went Vasconcelos and taking a one-way trip into that outside safer barrier. Jake Mackey got involved in all that after a terrible run through turn number 3 a few moments prior to that. You saw him battling hard with himself and Leo Dragata, and it ended in tears as we take a look at this replay, reeling it back. Contact being made as Vasconcelos popped out to the inside, wheel-to-wheel bang into the outside, catches a catch fence, and takes a twirling trip through. You can see that car flipping multiple times as he skids to a halt on the infield of this racetrack on his side. That is one of the SRT esports drivers, and a driver who felt oh so good about his chances coming into this race, getting taken out of it in absolutely spectacular fashion.
Well, that is an unfortunate error there by Jake Vasconcelos. And I don't know if we can ride on board to see exactly what happened with the number 10 car, but obviously something has gone awry. And I don't know if it was a late block or what exactly happened there between Vasconcelos and Jake Mackey here. We'll get this replay all set up here. You can see the both just trying to follow the down into turn 1, and that
the lightest of
touches, but Vasconcelos was looking for that inside line, and it seemed like he was trying to get out of it, but had such a massive run that unfortunately for Jake Mackey, he was just an innocent bystander in that entire ordeal.
And here we go. We've got another round of pit stops as Josh Chinsky passes the wounded and out of this race car of Jake Vasconcelos. These drivers don't have a faster pair allotted to them, so that 10 car will not be rejoining the racetrack unless his iRacing mechanics have been drinking copious amounts of Red Bull. Instead, it's going to be a shuffle at the front. Leo Dragata jumping up in front of Josh Chinsky, and Bailey Pietrowski jumping up in front of the both of them. You can see the pit stops from Pietrowski and Leo Dragata, two standout stars from the road course sides of things in the Xtreme Motorsports Series. And you can see it with a short stop, 4.1 seconds in the case of Bailey Pietrowski and 4.7 in the case of Dragata. They're going to be net P1 and P2, but they won't be actual P1 and P2 as Mike Franklin has stayed out on the racetrack. You can see this stop from Leo Dragata hitting his marks perfectly, unlike what we saw from Jake Vasconcelos a little bit earlier on. Dragata out and away, and you can see Pietrowski a little bit farther up the road, just barely getting the edge out on Josh Chinsky. That could have been a swaparoo the other way for Chinsky, remaining in the front too. But it's Neil Weston and Wyatt Franklin staying out. 8 laps less will be these drivers who came in last time by. Now, Adam, this is when we start to think about the strategies come time for the end of this race. Wyatt Franklin and Neil Weston pitting on lap 10. The rest of the drivers pitting on lap 18. It may not seem like such a big difference, but as Alex Rossi's win in the 2016 Indy 500 can attest to, a small little bit of fuel can make a big difference.
Oh, it can be, because that can be the difference between one extra pit stop or not, because you just don't know when these cautions are going to fall, and you don't know how long a green flag run is going to be. So you know exactly when you're going to stop if it goes green for the rest of the time. But the minute those cautions fall, if you got one lap less of fuel, you may have to stop, and the guy behind you may not have to stop to go to the end of the race. So it's all about fuel strategy around this track and in this race. And of course, for some people, they're taking a little bit of a risky, bold strategy, because we could have the next 30 laps go green, and that would mean pit stops, green flag pit stops. So, and that's going to be a kind of a long cycle as well. As we get into this race, you can see the virtual fans, they are absolutely loving all of this, Ron. It's a beautiful day around Indy. What is the track temperature? We can get that graphic. Oh, excuse me. We're actually going to go green here, Ron, and I'll let you take it away.
And looking at the track temperatures, which because of the whims of my computer are listed in Celsius, it's 42°C, 108 degrees Fahrenheit for those who like that unit of measurement. 108 Fahrenheit, that's rather warm. That is certainly warm for these tires. These drivers gonna be dealing with some grip issues all throughout this race. If there's any time that a setup is important, it's when you're licking the stamp and sending it at 215 miles an hour off around a racetrack like this. But the green flag is back at the drivers back on their way. Wyatt Franklin, the 13 car, is your race leader, but here comes Neil Weston on the inside down into turn number 1. This 6 car looking to jump into the race lead, but with them going side by side and a move not happening for Neil Weston, that's going to jam the pack up right behind Bailey Pietraszki running in third. Dragana right in front of Josh Shinsky, and Sophia Connell looking to get a move, but Shinsky diving to the inside down the back straightaway. Weston looking to get a move done on Wyatt Franklin to jump into the race lead. It was 3 wide racing. It's still 3 wide racing, heading off through turn number 3, 2x2 pack as they head their way off through the north end of the circuit. Sophia Connell getting shuffled out a little bit. Your pole sitter in this race, currently running down in P7. Not the way she wants things to go at this point of the race, but still plenty of time left to dust herself off and jump back into the race lead. As it's Weston still at the front, we go back to this pack going on right in front. It's side by side between Pietraszki and Chinsky, heading their way out of turn number 2. Chinsky gonna have the run on the high side, but here comes Dragana.
Oh man, this is absolutely fantastic open wheel racing here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and you can just see everybody trying to catch up back up to the lead group of Neil Weston and Wyatt Franklin through turns 3 and 4 now. Neil Weston, Wyatt Franklin battling it down. You can see a little bit of a gap. Here comes Wyatt Franklin side by side down the front straight. And can he find a way by? He does find a way by. And your new race leader is going to be Wyatt Franklin here on lap number 21. That's a change for the race lead. And you can just see everybody just now trying to relax a little bit here. Excuse me, not lap 21. We're on lap 23. I don't have my timing graphic. There it is. Lap 23 here with Wyatt Franklin. Now Joshua Chinsky has now brought that group back up to the lead pack here. And if I'm Wyatt Franklin, I'm going to try and lead this sucker all the way to the end now and try and make that green flag pit stop possible. And then you are going to be set up for the rest of this race if you can get that green flag pit stop without losing a bunch of time. And you can see everybody just jockeying for position through turns 1 and 2 side by side further back. That's going to be Sophia Connell. Sophia Connell trying to make their way by. And then you've got the 115 of Bailey Pietraszki trying to follow through. This is crucial moments here now as we are hitting, about to hit lap 25, a quarter of the way in to this one here, Ron.
And it has been a brilliant first quarter of racing action here for round number 3 of this season. A side-by-side between Hudek and Pietraszki heading through the north end through turn number 4. That's going to result in Pietraszki dropping down to P7. Caleb Lehman, who was at one point at the back, he's found himself in P8 now. He may get involved in this battle in the not-too-far-off future. That was a change at the front. Neil Weston and Wyatt Franklin were side-by-side as Joshinsky and Dragata maybe going to fight. Heading down the back straightaway out of turn number 2. Dragata in the draft of Chinsky. Gonna pull out to the inside line, maybe. He thought about it, going for the move, but he thinks better of it. Dragata, very young driver, but he's got a firm head on his shoulders. He's a quick driver too, so we may end up having to talk about the driver of the 118 car grabbing a win at some point in this season, running in a good spot. And hey, if you're gonna grab a win this season, maybe doing it at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that'd be a pretty darn good race win at the end of it all, don't you think?
Dragata using his tools to his disposal, and you can see nice gear shift down in the fifth throughout the corners, gets back on the throttle, then switches over to 6th gear as soon as those revs to get up to the limit. And of course, that is the proper way to drive around Indianapolis Motor Speedway when in the dirty air. You want to be able to shift down to fifth to stabilize that car. Then you're not having to really experience that aero wash. You really cancel it out by doing that. And now he's going to move down the inside of the 18 of Joshua Chinsky, and he backs out of the move down the front straight. And wow, I thought for sure he almost had the run there, but Chinsky just a little bit quicker down the front straight.
And that was a lift from Dragata as well. I can hear that. He's just lifted a little bit, a small little blip off the gas. I think these drivers are thinking about the fuel game once again, but they're still side by side. Chinsky trying to get a 2-for-1 deal down into turn number 3. Book it. Chinsky goes into the race lead. Weston gonna slip in tow right behind in the number 6 car. Dragata making his way up into the podium spots as Wyatt Franklin, the 13 car, gets oh so close to the wall. Coming out of the final corner, Wyatt Franklin in that lucky number 13 car still in the discussion. He was catching my eye earlier on in this race, but contact, huge moment heading off through turn number 1. Wyatt Franklin going for a last second move on Neil Weston to jump his way back into the podium spots. I don't think he was expecting a move like that, as contact being made yet again. Front left to right rear involving Stephen Hudek and Neil Weston. This has been a terrible turn of fortune for the driver of the number 6 car. He's now dropping down to 7th. Bailey Pietraszki looking to get a move done on him. Charlie Hosea involved in this battle. Caleb Lehman also looking to pick up some spots as well. But Wyatt Franklin should be counting his lucky stars that he didn't go the way of Vasconcelos.
Just looking at the replay, that was absolutely close to being a disaster. You can see Wyatt Franklin just struggling to get that car back under control and underneath him. And that's one of the things about these IndyCars on a high-speed oval like this. It takes one bump and you can be out of shape for multiple corners. And you can just see that was so close to being a disaster.
Oh, that could have been an absolute airplane accident heading off through turn number 1. It doesn't end that way. Instead, it ends in the front pack, shifting around quite a lot. Josh Chinsky and Dragata side by side down the start finish straightaway off into turn number 1. Dragata looking to jump into the race lead, and he gets it done down into turn number 1. The driver of the 118 didn't take the start last time out on the road course. Took the start at Portland, but ran into some difficulties. The driver of the 118 car, though, is a driver who I'll be keeping my tabs on all throughout this season. He's quick, and he's certainly flexing his muscles in this race at Indy today. The 118 in the race lead for now. Josh Chinsky slotted in P2 wide. Franklin running at your podium, and here's Bailey Pietraszki and Neil Weston battling hard for P7. Actually forming a bit of a breakaway are the top 6. You can see that gap has ballooned out between Pietraszki and the 115 car, currently slotted in 7th, and Caleb Lehman in the 42, currently slotted in 6th. North of a second now, we're getting to the point where we may start to see that pack split in an odd way. It won't be a while until we start to see Bailey Pietraszki lose a draft. Frankly, the draft is so strong he could pick it up from one end of these massively long straightaways to another. So then we're going to see Bailey Pietraszki in the pack behind really fall back, but at the same time, they are playing a bit of a dangerous game.
Well, they got to keep that fuel strategy in mind. Also, potential cautions. But now with everybody sort of spreading out through here as we're losing the cars behind the buildings, you can just see that everyone just really strung out, really comfortable to just ride right now. This is actually what I would suggest doing. Just ride. You don't need to press the issues right now. You just want to stay in the draft. Make sure you just keep alongside, keep right up to the guy in front of you. Don't lose any time, because the minute you lose the draft, it's all over. You're never going to catch it back. And that's in any sort of oval racing. That includes the NASCAR, that includes INDYCAR, Indy Lights, anything that requires a draft. The minute you lose it, you're never going to get it back unless there's a caution. So gotta keep that foot to the floor, as Wyatt Franklin right now in P3 trying to make their way, just keeping in that third spot. That's actually, again, that's where I would want to run. P3 is perfect right there, because you got the leaders in front of you. If something happens, you can clean up the spots. If you want to go on an alternative pit strategy, of course you can, and that's exactly what Wyatt Franklin is on right now. Last pit stop, lap number 10. So his green flag pit stop is coming up here shortly, Ron, and that is where it's going to be absolutely crucial to see how quickly he can get in and out of the pit lane.
And see how he executes that pit entry as well. I'm going to talk about this all throughout this broadcast this evening here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. That pit entry, it's called out the best of the best. Scott Dixon, in real life, lost the Indy 500 some years ago because of a pit lane speeding penalty. Kyle Larson lost out on a good spot last year at the Indy 500 because of a pit lane speeding penalty. It is so tricky to try and nail down that braking zone. You're coming out of these corners going well over 200 miles an hour, and when you have to go from that to slamming on the brakes and trying to find a line that you can't see until about 50 feet before you hit it, it's going to be tough. These drivers are hauling the mail. Following Dragata, he was going about 215 miles an hour coming out of this corner, and bearing in mind he's the lead car of this pack as well. He's not getting the drift. If you're Wyatt Franklin in the number 13 car, you're probably going into there probably around scraping near enough to 220, so he's going to be hauling it, and there's maybe a little bit of damage on that race car as well. Let us not forget the terrifying moment with the 13 and the 6 of Neil Weston heading off into turn number 1 a couple of laps ago. There may be a little bit of damage on that 13 as well. So as much as pit entry is usually rather terrifying with a clean car, you throw in a bit of damage and a pack involved in all this as well, and then you'll really start to get nervous.
Well, here we go. Lap 36 of 100. Everybody currently just single file. You're not seeing a ton of passing here, but this is what you would call a low point in this race. Everybody just trying to fuel save a little bit. Dragata right now just out in front, just absolutely controlling the pace here, but that's going to require more fuel, even though he was one of the pit lane entry or the pit stops on lap 118. It's going to be a little bit of time here before we start seeing the rest of the cycle. So it's all going to start with Wyatt Franklin and Niels Weston. And those guys are going to come into the pit lane first. There's just no way that they don't, especially at this point in the race. Actually, I would probably say 80% fuel. They're probably going to be pitting about 3 to 4 laps, if I had to guess, because that would get them to lap 30 at least. And so that's going to be in the back of everyone's mind. The one disadvantage that Wyatt Franklin and Neil Weston have is the fact that they're going to be out of the draft. They're going to be out of this pack. So they're really going to have to just go. Hopefully they come out in the back of this pack, because then they can gain a little bit of speed with it. But the rest of the drivers who pitted on lap 18, when do you come in here, Ron? Do you come in on lap 50? Do you come in lap 55? That's going to be the real question here, as we are having a nice green flag run here on lap number 38.
Yeah, and all the permutations that are going through these drivers' minds are trying to figure out when to pit, when not to pit, when to stay out, what sort of strategy you want to go for. That's all the stuff that these drivers have to think about when it comes to practicing for these races. Wyatt Franklin, though, along with Neil Weston, the two cars involved in that alternative strategy, they're not going to be feeling too well, because as you raise, it was a brilliant point that you brought up, Adam, talking about the fact those drivers will not have draft assistance when they come out. They're going to be by themselves, and considering how far apart they are as well, I mean, it's a couple of seconds between Wyatt Franklin and Neil Weston, so this is not going to be the brightest point of the race for those two competitors. They're going to have to hope for some yellows to fall their way a little bit later on, and probably keep their fingers crossed as well that they don't pick up any sort of penalties, because once you pick up a penalty, you're going to be done for. Even if they don't, if they have a perfectly clean run through pit lane, they're going to have to hope for some sort of shenanigans to befall other drivers' ways, because there's no one who's going to say, you know what, I can stay out for some more laps, I'm going to risk it, I'm going to come in with these drivers. You can't really make it work with a 3-car pack running around here. Granted, it's better than running by yourself. I'm pretty sure there was a line in Piano Man by Billy Joel that describes the plight. It's kind of similar of coming down pit lane with a couple of cars knowing that you're screwed, instead of just coming down pit lane by yourself. Stephen Hudek running pretty good in the number 44 car, not one of those drivers has to come down pit lane in a couple of moments. He's trying to make a move done through turn number 4 on the inside of Sophia Connell. That's not the smartest spot to try and go for a move. Turn 4, not a spot to go for an overtake. Usually the most amount of overtaking that goes on through that section of the track is someone who has crashed. But getting back to the point that I was going to raise, probably 1 or 2 laps away from seeing the number 13 and the number 6 come into the pits, and they're going to have to hope for something major to happen to get back up to the front, I feel.
Yeah, they're going to have to hope for a caution or something. Of course, we're going to see kind of an interesting pit cycle. I don't think everybody's going to go in at once, because they're all going to just try and play the fuel game at this point. In lap 41 of 100, and that will give us, once we see Dragata, Joshua Chinsky, and Sophia Connell pit, that will actually give us an idea of how many laps these fuel tanks can go, and then we'll put that in our memory banks. So it's gonna be very, very interesting to see what happens here. One thing I want to mention, we did have that mini map up, and that was you could see Eduardo Lorente in 11th lap down. Looks like, how many laps down is he? I'm trying to find his name. Looks like he's just is he still in the lead lap? Okay, well, you could see the pack coming, and it was getting closer and closer and closer. That's just because Lorente is not in that draft anymore, and he is just a sitting duck, and when everybody comes up to him, he's not going to be able to catch up with the pack, because this pack is going to be going very quick by him. They're not going to wait for him. They're just going to let Lorente know, hey, we're here, and we're going to pass you, and that's going to be the end of that. So right now, I'm surprised we have not seen any green flag pit stops yet, considering this will now be lap 33 for Wyatt Franklin and Neil Weston. Probably a little bit of fuel saving. Again, fuel map 2 on these cars on ovals. Very useful to have, especially when in a draft. You can definitely save a lot more fuel that way. About 2 laps usually you can save by doing that, but it's going to be just a matter of how hard are you pushing. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the next 5 laps here for those two.
Speaking of 2 other drivers, Josh Shinsky and Leo Dragata swapped spots down into turn number 1. Shinsky jumping into the race lead. Dragata in the 118 slotted in P2. Wyatt Franklin still running at your podium in 3rd. That 118 car getting dangerously flirtatious with some of the concrete barriers heading around this racetrack. I've seen that 118 scrape the wall a little bit thus far in this race. I see Wyatt Franklin trying to sneak a wheel down the inside of Dragata as well in all of that. So still racy is the number 13 car, but as I said, the reference that I made to Piano Man by Billy Joel, they're sharing a drink they called loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone, and that's going to be the situation that Wyatt Franklin and Neil Weston find themselves in at the present moment. They're going to have to come into the pit soon. I think Wyatt Franklin realizes that as down the inside is Sophia Connell trying to jump her way up into the podium spot after starting starting this race from the pole. That's not going to work out for the 13. He's stuck on the outside, so if he needed to come down pit lane right there, he's not going to be feeling himself well at all. Sophia Connell going to have a monstrous run down that start-finish straightaway, and into the race lead she goes from P4 a couple of moments before all the way into P1 at the end of the straight. Shows you how strong the draft is in these race cars, but she had a big slide heading off through turn number 2, and that's going to create a 3 wide, nearly 4 wide pack down the back straightaway off into turn number 3. Sophia Connell still holding on to the race lead. Josh Shinsky looking to get a move done as Leo Dragata side by side with the number 13 of Wyatt Franklin as well. Through turn number 4, Franklin holding on to that inside, not diving down into the pits just yet as these drivers scrape onto lap 46, onto 47 now, side by side still with Shinsky and Connell. Connell going to slip in tow.
Just absolutely crucial what we just saw there. And wow, that was an absolute mess for a little bit there as Neil Weston comes out of the pit lane. He is going to be scared here because he's got the pack right behind him. And you can just see he's trying to just keep that foot to the floor. And who knows what's going to happen here in the next couple of laps if everyone's going to pass him. Now he's actually up to speed, so maybe he can hold on to that front of the pack, because here's the thing. Caution comes out. He'll be in the front of the pack, but Joshua Chinsky, good run. And we'll get around Neil Weston again. He is a lap car. There is no blue flag, so everyone's just got to get around you. And
oh, that could have ended in disaster with Dragata. You can see that Shinsky and Connell went for the move. When it comes to overtakes on ovals, I mention this a lot when it comes to lap traffic on road courses, but it applies to ovals as well. You got to play a game of chicken in an odd way. If you're Leo Dragata, as that's Wyatt Franklin going up into the wall, coming through turn number 3. That's going to bring him into the pits for sure. Some damage on the right-hand side of that number 13 car. Going to get joined in the pits by Eduardo Lorente. Early on, there's the pit lane line right there. Wyatt Franklin hitting his pit limiter as quickly as he possibly could. It's not going to be a penalty for Franklin. Instead, it's going to be a run through the pits. Maybe a little bit early than he had in mind. The scrub and the understeer heading off through turn number 3 really hurt him there as we take a look and see this absolutely insane battle. Sophia Connell was nearly off into the wall heading through turn number 2 a few moments ago. It was a couple of laps ago when it happened. I believe this was a lead up to it. You can see that car was running smooth heading off through some of the corners beforehand, but then it just absolutely flared up. Dragata had a fantastic view of that side-by-side racing between some of those competitors, and you can see, so close to hitting that outside wall. Dragata having a heart in the mouth a moment as he headed his way off through turns number 3 and 4. Chinsky is your race leader. Sophia Connell slotted in P2. You can see Wyatt Franklin exiting out. He's currently slotted in P9. The top 7 still on the lead lap, and Neil Weston actually jumped in front of Wyatt Franklin as a result of that pit cycle.
That turns 3 and 4 wall. I don't have a very good relationship with that wall, as our producer Josh can attest to, and that you guys saw what happened to me on slow motion broadcasting on a couple of Sundays ago, leading the race and smacking that wall a couple of times and ending my day due to just poor talent. But you can see Joshua Chinsky now leading the charge here. We are officially halfway through this one, and it's all going to come down to the next few pit stops. Obviously, you can't go 50 laps on a tank, so we're going to see probably 2 pit stops from here to the end of this one. Steven Hudek right now in that 3rd spot, the 44 car. And let's take a look at the replay of the 44 getting by Dragata. And he gets by no problem there. Almost, there's that almost touch of the wall there by the 116, the 118. As he also Dragata into the pits, and we'll see how quickly that's kind of an interesting call. Maybe thinking that he can get the undercut done. I'm not sure about this one, but you can just see now everybody just making their way through here on lap 52. Leo Dragata, good pit stop there, gets out. very quickly here. A 9.9 second stop inside the box. And it will come out with just behind the pack of cars. So he is going to go a lap down, but he'll get that lap back. Joshua Chinsky, Charlie, Hosea now into the pits as well.
Yeah, so clearly these drivers are saying that now is the time to pounce. Now is the time to come into pit lane. Chinsky and Hosea, the next two cars to pit. I think Sophia Connell will be coming in due course, along with the likes of Stephen Hudek and Bailey Pietraszki. Out and away off the jacks is the number 18 of Josh Chinsky. He's going to find himself in P5. Hosea running right behind in 6th. This is going to bring pretty much everyone back into this fight. I gotta say, credit where credit is due to Wyatt Franklin and the number 6 of Neil West, and the fact they stayed out for as long as they did and were able to come into the pits not terribly before the rest of the drivers did, as it's a drag race between Sophia Connell and Bailey Pietraszki down pit lane. I wonder how much of a pace disparity it was between those two competitors as they went through the pit entry. Neither of them picked up a black flag, so no harm, no foul there. Pietraszki slipping that clutch to try and minimize the wheel spin as much as it looks good, having a smoke show when the car gets dropped off the jacks. Doesn't really work out too well in terms of speed. Just slipping that clutch, getting that car rolling, that's going to help you out a lot better, and these drivers are certainly going to look to do that. Caleb Lehman has picked up another black flag. This time, I got to imagine it's for speeding on pit entry. You can see him trundling his way down in the pits in the number 42 car right now, and that is going to be a disastrous series of events. He picked up a black flag at the start, and for this, Adam, he's going to pick up yet another black flag.
100% was Speedy.
Yep.
100% on that one. So you can just tell, and just a really rough day in the office for Caleb Lehman.
Yeah, really rough for him. And Stephen Hudek actually making the run through pits now.
The race later at this point, so he does have quite a bit of gap between him and Joshua Chinsky, who's now going to get their lap back. Everybody now starting to get their lap back, but Stephen Hudek, excuse me, will... Oh, and he missed his box. Quit missing your box, guys. Oh. Oh, man.
And he does it right in front of Jake Vasconcelos, too.
Oh, man. That's one thing you have to practice on ovals is pit entry and getting to your box. If you cannot do those two things, you are not going to win any of these races on the ovals, because A, they're a lot faster entry than standard road courses. And then, of course, just getting to your box, because they are so finite on how you have to get that car lined up to make sure that the crew can get around the car and get those tires off, get you some fuel. And in iRacing, it is a very thin line. It's a very thin line of where that car has to be positioned in that pit box.
Yeah, if you get it right, you're going to be feeling like $1 million. If you get it wrong, you're going to be feeling like a bucket of horse manure that just got kicked over by another horse. So that's going to be real tough for any of those drivers who run into those difficulties. It's now been 2. Let's see if there's going to be a third between now and the checkered flag. Certainly have some pit stops to worry about before then, though. Clicking over lap 58, lap 58, I should say this time, by my apologies. Josh Chinsky is your race leader. Bailey Pietraszki has jumped up into P2. Sophia Connell rounds out your podium with Charlie Hosea and Wyatt Franklin, your top 5. Bailey Pietraszki is a driver that I think we certainly have to keep tabs on here, Adam. He's running strong just at the fast lap of the race last time by as well at a 40.799. That 115 driver, he flexes muscles on the road course 1 week ago. Even though this oval is about the same length as a road course, if not a little bit shorter, it's a completely different challenge. But Pietraszki, he's reeling in Chinsky. He's got the draft. The gap is now below a half a second. I think Bailey Pietraszki is a driver we have to really keep in mind when it comes to battling for the race win.
Well, it's all going to come down to that final pit stop here in about, they went, how many laps, Ron? About 40 laps almost?
Mm-hmm. About that, 40, 42.
Yeah, so is that even right? Lap 18 to 52? Is that even right?
Probably not. I mean, yeah, ask me of all people. I am. There's very good reason why I became a commentator, because no college would accept me. Bailey Pietrowski looking to get a move done on Joshinsky, heading off through into turn number 3. Sophia Connell looking to get some moves done in all of that as well. So that is some real close quarters racing still at the front of the field. The pack has definitely closed up. You can see the 42 of Caleb Lehman, the first car 1 lap down, involved in all this as well. Sophia Connell with a monstrous run, heading down that start finish straightaway off into turn number 1, and contact nearly with herself and Joshinsky on the outside. And just to correct myself in my absolutely horrendous math, it was 34. So I had the numbers
34.
reversed and I subtracted 1.
That's, yeah, I was just doing the calculations myself. So we're getting between 34 to 35 laps of fuel. That definitely does not get anybody to the end here. It's going to be now when that final fuel window opens. And for some of these guys, I would not be surprised if we see some early pit stops at lap number 66, between 66 and 70. Or you'll see the final 20 laps with a pit stop, because it's all going to come down to that final pit stop. You're not going to want to waste time on it, especially if you're waiting maybe till the end of the fuel tank, because there's going to be guys who have already pitted and are going to be coming up through the field.
Oh, as you can hear a big clutch and coast from Bailey Pietrowski tailing Sophia Connell. I'm not sure if you heard that as well, Adam, but I certainly did. The revs dropping. Pietrowski is maybe eyeballing a longer stop, just doing the quick numbers and adding it all up. We're probably going to see these drivers come into the pits with about 13 laps on the board. 15 to 13 laps left in this race will probably be when we see these drivers come into the pits for the final time. That is, unless we have some sort of yellow intervention with this battle really flaring up all throughout this field, we may end up seeing some drivers come to blows. It doesn't even have to be one. With these conditions, if one driver loses it and hits the barrier, that's going to bring out a yellow. And then when that happens, that is going to throw this race into complete disarray. These drivers are looking at lap 66 as the earliest that they can realistically come down pit lane and be able to make it to the end. That'll be a 34 lap dash to take the checkered, obviously with drafting and clutching and coasting and all of that, plus the yellows. There's a lot that could affect your fuel numbers here at Indy, but based off the numbers we have presently, that would be what these drivers are looking for at the present moment. So rapidly approaching upon the point where if these drivers come down pit lane in a couple of laps, they would be able to make it to the end. Not sure if they're worried about pit stop, though. They're still side by side. Connell on the inside of Pietrowski, heading off through turn number 3 and 4. Pietrowski still holding on to the race lead.
Well, you hear, I'm gonna throw a wrench into your theory on your pit count, as now here comes Joshua Chinsky, the 42, 3 wide for the race lead, and you can see Sophia Connell was the race leader, and Sophia Connell gets the race lead. Pietrowski almost got swallowed up there by Chinsky as well, and Joshua Chinsky just decides to hang back here. That 42, oh, never mind, that's a lap car. Who's the 42? Caleb Lehman. They just have identical livery, so I apologize for that. So
2 teammates.
Oh no, never mind. They're teammates, so it makes sense. But Sophia Connell now falling back into second. Bailey Pietrowski back out in front. Now back to talk. Oh, hold on. Sophia Connell looking side by side down the front straight. Got a little bit of a side draft off of Pietrowski, and Sophia Connell back out in front here with just now 35 laps to go, 36 laps to go. The fuel window opens up in 2 laps, Ron. Technically, if they can go 34, 35 laps on their fuel, the fuel window is going to be open here in the next 2 laps. So now the question is, when do you make that pit stop? You said, this tank will get them to 13 laps to go. I think it would be absolutely crazy to take this fuel tank all the way down. I think that you're going to be asking for trouble, because if a caution does come out in that fuel window, you're not going to, obviously everyone's going to pit. So I don't know what you do here. I say you're going to be probably pitting. If you don't have a caution here in the next 10, 15 laps, I would be thinking about making an early pit stop here and try and get an undercut and try and get out in front of somebody, especially if you're not leading this race.
You know, that's exactly what I was thinking about, Adam, as we see these drivers deal with the lap car of Stephen May and the number 55 heading their way off through the opening corners. But I'm absolutely with you there, Adam. I think the winning strategy, coming from us in the commentary booth, I'm sure these drivers are maybe going to be eyeing up something different, knowing what they know compared to what we know here in the commentary booth. If it were me, though, I would probably be eyeballing a pit stop around lap 80. That's comfortably enough within that fuel window whereby you won't have to worry about clutching at straws to make it into the pits, but at the same time, you'd have a lighter car, a lighter fuel load, and in an ideal world, a faster car right towards the end of this race. Won't have to worry about fuel saving either. So if it were me, I'd probably be eyeballing a pit stop at the very latest, lap 82. At the very earliest, I'd say probably lap 75. That would be my pit window if I were one of these drivers out there on the racetrack. But again, folks, very good reason why I'm behind the microphone instead of behind the wheel, based off the fact that I thought these drivers went about 42 laps and they actually went 34. You can tell that I was never the best in math class. As speaking of a good run, Caleb Lehman just unlapped himself in the number 42 car. So talk about another factor involved in all of this. He's going to be a bit of a thorn in the side for at least two of these drivers at the front.
Yeah, Caleb Lehman there, just kind of in between the lead pack here and just interwoven into this battle. But for the guys behind him, his teammate of Joshua Chinsky and, of course, Bailey Piotrowski back there, this works out. But now you can see that Caleb Lehman, he's trying to get in front of Sophia Connolly. And this is absolutely crucial. If the caution comes out, he will be right behind the pace car, which means he will get his lap back. He will get the wave around. So he needs to keep this position here, keep up with this group, especially if he wants a chance to get his lap back. So it doesn't surprise me that he is not going anywhere anytime soon, because he is a lap down. So he does need it back desperately to get that, to have a chance to get back on this lead lap and have a chance to win here in Indianapolis.
And that could have timed out absolutely perfectly, because I think there may have been a moment involving Neil Weston in the number 6. I think he's had some sort of off as we heard the wall scrape from Caleb Lehman heading down into turn number 4. I believe the 6th car of Weston has gotten involved in some sort of extracurricular drama. Leo Dragata has also come into the pits here on lap 7. He's going to be exiting right as these drivers head their way off into turn number 1 and 2. But I want to see what happened to Weston, because according to our live timing, he crashed, or at least it was considered a crash. Maybe he had some sort of moments heading into the pits.
Oh.
No, he hit the wall. So the fact this didn't bring out a yellow is rather surprising to me, because you can see that car is quite wounded. That, I believe, yeah, you can see big wall hit, and that's the reason why Dragata has come into the pits as well. Missing a front wing, that nose cone slightly askew, but a big moment for Weston. Smacks that outside wall coming out of turn number 2, and the fact that didn't bring a yellow out is truly unbelievable to me.
Well, that's because there's no real cars stopped on track. iRacing's the way that their full course yellow system is basically if a car becomes fully stopped or is undrivable, pretty much. I don't know how it recognizes it when a car is fully stopped, because crashes happen all the time. It also recognizes when cars are completely sideways and spun around. But as long, he was still pointing forward, going the right direction, and that's why we didn't see that yellow. Plus the iRacing caution system, who knows what it actually wants to call. So we've seen some pretty horrific incidences without a caution being called that should have been called. So, but Caleb Lehman leading the lead pack in P7, he's just praying for a caution. He is praying for a caution to come out, because he will get that wave around to the lead, to the back of the pack. And that's all he wants, is just have a chance to win this one. But right now, We're 2 laps away from that, from your potential pit strategy here, Ron. So got to keep our eyes open now for people diving into the pits as we are approaching now almost 25 laps to go here, lap 73 of 100. So now lap 74. So we're almost 3/4 of the way through this. And now this is when the pit strategy comes into mind. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Joshua Chinsky actually making the move. He almost smokes himself into the wall there. Oh man, what a disaster that would have been to go into the wall at that point in time. But you can see what, you know, even though Caleb Lehman and Joshua Chinsky are teammates, Joshua Chinsky's actually really helping out Sophia Connell by passing them and getting in front, allowing them to save some fuel and maybe just get a couple more laps on this run here.
And as we are seeing this race enter the final quarter, which it has now, 75 laps on the board of this 100 lap long race, I am not sure who we should keep our eyes on. I think it all comes down to this final pit cycle. Who's going to come into the pits? Who is going to have that maximized strategy? Who's going to have the strategy that falls about as poorly as a lead balloon would? That's all the stuff that'll be riding on these drivers' minds come time for the very end of this race, as we'll take a look at the overhead view of Indianapolis, an absolutely marvelous motorsport facility. Got the words mixed up there a couple of moments ago. This track is a gem. Got the privilege of visiting here many times, and haven't come here since 2022. Would love to come here at some point though, because this track is absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm an IndyCar history nerd, as if this race was absolutely caution riddled, you probably would have learned by now. Actually, the broadcast open probably sold it already, but nonetheless, this track is absolutely divine as putting on a very good race at the present moment. That's the thing when it comes to Indy races here. With IndyCars, NASCARs, doesn't matter. You can see the most heart-pumping, brilliant, side-by-side, balls-to-the-wall racing action out there on the track, and then when you've got the strategy thrown in the works as well, it is so tense seeing what these drivers are going to try and throw at the wall and see what sticks.
Well, again, Sophia Connell getting the assistance of Caleb Lehman, and if I'm SRT right now, I'm kind of going, hey, help me back here, buddy. Need the help. But Caleb Lehman just racing for himself, I would say, at this point, because he wants on that lead lap. Now, lap 77 of 100. Now we are 100% in the fuel window, in the pit cycle, and it's who's going to make that first move. That's also kind of a mind game right now. Who is going to make the first move for the pits and try and win here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, here on XMS, the INDYCAR Series, live on slow motion broadcasting. And this is I don't know who's going to make that first move. Is it going to be Chinsky? Is it going to be Piotrowski? I would have, if you're trying to win this race, you've got to find the best strategy possible or find a way up to the lead. And if I'm Piotrowski, I'm maybe considering it right now, maybe pulling into the pits in the next lap or so, because, and there goes Sophia Connell. Sophia Connell into the pits. So there's the first breakaway there. And now for Joshua Chinsky, got to use that draft of your teammate. Try and make sure you cover yourself off the undercut potential here. Charles Hosea, Wyatt Franklin, all into the pits now. And you also see Stephen May, Edward Lorente is in. Oh, and an incident for Sophia Connell.
No! That's going to take her out of it. These drivers don't have a fast repair. Reminder to anyone who hasn't tuned into the series before, Sophia Connell going to wreck on pit entry. And that's going to do it for the driver of the number 11 car. Let's take a look at it here. Locking the rears, bang, into that outside concrete barrier as she comes into the pits. Sophia Connell, that is going to be a heartbreaking mistake. Still going to be an okay points day, but my word, that is not going to win herself any favors with herself at all. She's going to be kicking herself after that mistake. There's no doubt about it. Sophia Connell, she's out of it. That leaves us with Josh Chinsky and Bailey Piotrowski battling for the race win at the end of it all. Chinsky, he's been the teammate to the driver who's grabbed both of the victories thus far this season. Dave Menino has been dominant, but he's not here. Bailey Piotrowski Pietraszki last time out, though, he was involved in a battle for the win on the road course with Chinsky's teammate. So this is going to be some fun with 20 laps coming to 19 to go. This time by Pietraszki is maybe in the catbird seat to do this. That was a huge and costly mistake for Sophia Connell, who entered this race trying to get some inroads on the points. It's not going to happen today.
Well, that was an absolute crucial moment in this one. Just locks up the brakes, gets out of shape, into that front wall. They went, and that's just an unfortunate error by Sophia Connell. One more time looking at it, you can see trying to slow down. Nope. The brakes just couldn't hold it. And again, this kind of racing, you have to be exactly on point. You have to think of the fine margins. And that right there is a perfect example of that. And unfortunate for Sophia Connell, as they will finish most likely, they're going to be outside of the top 10, actually probably going to be down in 11th at the end of this one. But now, Ron, here's the major question. Does John Chinsky go into the pits first, or does Bailey Pietraszki make a pit stop first? This is the defining moments here in this one here in the XMS ICS series, live on slow motion broadcasting. And this is going to be an absolute crucial moment here. And right now, Joshua Chinsky is thanking his lucky stars that he's got a teammate in front of him giving him the draft.
Yeah, Chinsky has that in his back pocket, but when it comes to those pit stops, teammates aren't going to help you out at all. You just need to execute. You need to get that pit entry down. Avoid what happened to Sophia Connell. Avoid what happened to Lehman earlier on. We need to think about the fact that Caleb Lehman picked up a pit lane speed penalty a little bit earlier on. Josh Chinsky probably is going to yield those warnings that were issued out by his SRT Esports teammates as Pietraszki making the call to come into the pits. I was thinking that we'd probably see those two drivers come down pit lane together, but Bailey Pietraszki, who came into the pits one lap after Josh Chinsky, is going to come in at the very least one lap before Chinsky. So let's see if the number 18 will respond in just... Oh, that's not going to help him out. Pietraszki missing his marks on pit lane. It happens again. That's the third driver at the very least to have that happen to him. Spins up the tires in frustration. Pietraszki gonna have a short run through the pits. Doesn't have to fuel up too badly with a short burst all the way through to the checkered flag, but that is not going to help out Bailey Pietraszki at all. Looking at the time that he spent down pit lane, 41.40 seconds. Compare that to Chinsky, who last time by was at 41.9 and spent about 5 seconds more down in the pit lane. That may have just won it for Chinsky as long as he can execute on this pit stop. If he throws it away, it may go back into the hands of Bailey Pietraszki, or it may fall into the hands of Stephen Hudick in the number 44 car. He finds himself in a P2 at the present moment. He needs to come in as well, as Chinsky is coming into the pits in the number 18 car. Extra careful into the pit lane. You can see him doing a strategy that you don't see a lot of people do on iRacing, but believe me, I've done before, and it works. Shift up, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Get a small little bit of speed heading your way through the pits. It may not seem like much, but can make a huge difference at the end of this race. He needs to hit his mark, so as he pulls in to the pit box. Looks like he hit him well, though. He's not backing up. Stephen Hudick has pulled into the pits as well. Absolute perfection from Chinsky. He drops it off the jacks. He's out and away. A longer stop than Pietraszki. He's out and away now. Let's see. Pietraszki's heading his way down that start-finish straightaway off into turn number 1 right about now. Trying to see if we can pick up the 115 car in the back. A shot. There's Hudick dropping down to P3 at the very best, as Pietraszki heading his way through turn number 2. Chinsky jumping onto the race lead, so worked out well for Chinsky, and it worked out terribly for Pietraszki.
I think part of the reason why that pit stop was a little bit longer, because Joshua Chinsky did take tires, but a faster overall start because he didn't make that mistake that Pietraszki made, which cost him just 0.5 of a second. That is absolutely insane. One little mistake cost Pietrowski 0.5 of a second, and now he's 3.6 seconds down.
And that is going to be such a heart-wrenching mistake for Pietrowski yet again. It really happened like this on the road course 1 week ago here from the Xtreme Motorsports INDYCAR Championship Series on slow motion broadcasting, and it happens yet again. You can see Chinsky out and away, building speed on that warm-up lane, and Pietrowski, nothing he could do. He could just look a little bit farther up the road and see that lime green, black, and silver car run off into the distance, run off into the sunset with that checkered flag not terribly far in front of him, and he could just sulk, thinking what could have been if he hit the brakes a matter of a few moments earlier. That may have been Pietrowski's win for the taking. It may still be his. Chinsky, we can't say it's over until it's over. Don't count your chickens before they hatch and all that stuff. I mentioned it earlier on, talking about the existence of 1 year when they ran double file restarts, when J.R. Hildebrand smacked the turn 4 wall, coming to take the checkered flag, and the late great Dan Weldon was able to get his second win here at Indy. You can never say it's over until you see that car cross that start-finish line, go through that yard of bricks, and take that checkered flag.
Wasn't that the same year that he was wearing that Hildebrand was running the National Guard paint scheme?
And the same year that Dale Jr. ran out of fuel at the Coke 600,
Don't
correct?
remind me, okay? That was a sad day. That's the only reason why I remember that day. But you can see now Caleb Lehman and Joshua Chinsky just trading spots here. Just help each other. Oh, a little bit of a wall rub there by Chinsky on the exit of the corner. That was close. Again, fine margins. Having to go to the end here as we are now on lap 90. 11 laps now officially to go here at Indy, at the beautiful Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Of course, one of my bucket list racetracks. I would love to go see the Indy 500 this year. Ron, you've been to the Indy 500. You know what this beautiful venue looks like from the grandstands, and of course, it's definitely a good time and a highly recommended race to go to.
Here's the thing. I've been to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but I've always been in September, coming back from the SCCA Solo Nationals. I have not been to the Indy 500. My longtime buddy, Robbie, who I used to buddy around with in the karting days, he's actually going out here in a couple of weeks to be present for this year's 109th 500, and that's got to be a fantastic race. But I've never gotten the opportunity to go to the 500, at least yet. I am hoping that I'll be able to go to it at some point in my lifetime. Who knows? Fingers crossed. I'll be able to make that pilgrimage once again in the month of May. I mean, if you've ever been to Speedway, Indiana, it is just racer's heaven, and the food there is actually pretty fantastic as well. I believe it's O'Reilly's on Main Street in Speedway. Some of the best burgers I've ever had, and that's pretty fresh coming from me, because I mean, obviously we don't have webcams on these broadcasts, but I'm a bit on the chunkier end. I know my way around a good burger, so they make some good stuff. Speedway, Indiana, absolutely fantastic. I love this place, and it puts on some brilliant racing as well. And what a brilliant day if it is going to be Josh Chinsky's first. What a brilliant day it will be as well for the SRT Esports team. Dave Menino, the SRT Esports driver, skipping out after winning the first two races. And then they were thinking, oh no, we may end up seeing another driver get their way into victory lane. Nope. Josh Chinsky going to try and continue on that sweep of SRT Esports drivers grabbing the checkered flag. He's only a few laps away from getting it done.
The only two battles on track ongoing right now is between third and fourth. Charlie Hosea and Wyatt Franklin, and the 8th and 9th spots, but that's a little bit of a further battle here. But you can see there is our battle for P3. Wyatt Franklin in P4 right now, that number 13 car trying to find a way around the 100 of Charlie Hosea. And this is for that final podium spot. I would say at this point, 1 and 2, unless something dramatically happens in the closing 8 laps of this race, Joshua Chinsky is going to be the race leader or race winner, as he has an 8.1 second lead, and that's just due to the help of his teammate. Now, this is where the real battle is. Wyatt Franklin, good run, trying to stick in that draft. Don't want to make the move too early. You don't want to paddle award this, okay? and you want to make a move on the final lap, but you don't want to make it on the final lap too early, or Joseph Newgarden's going to go right back past you down the back straight. So you got to keep the cool minds intact here. Of course, this place, as Panel Award says, does not owe anybody anything. The guy who wins the race is the most deserving driver around this track. It's just so difficult, so challenging, just because it's so high speed, the amount of focus that you have to have. And just in a 100-lap race is intense. It is an absolute tough, difficult time to go around this racetrack and keep your mind focused, knowing what you need to do, and also think about how you're going to make the move in the closing stages and stay out in front. And that, that's what makes this race so difficult, Ron. And we're about to see some fireworks for this final podium spot.
And when these drivers start to battle hard, it is going to be a feisty run all the way through to the checkered flag. Coming up in the not too far off future, these drivers pushing lap number 95, and when they get to the end, it is going to be a heart-pumping finish throughout. Josh Shinsky on lap 96, he's on track for the win with the gap growing between himself and Bailey Piotrowski, certainly with the help of his teammate, the number 42 of Caleb Lehman, who will take some solace in the fact that despite having a rather poor race from his perspective after picking up a black flag at the very start, then making his way back up onto the lead lap and back up into the front pack fight, then picking up a black flag for a pit lane speed violation. He'll take some solace in knowing that it's probably his draft that is helping his teammates build a big gap right towards the very end of this race. But for the battle for the final podium spot, it's still very much on between Hosea and Franklin. Wyatt Franklin has had a wild race up to this point. He led the cars that were on that alternative strategy a little bit earlier on. Didn't really work out his way when it comes to battling for the race win, but he shaved one pit stop out of this race compared to his competitors and is running in a P4, but he wants to make that a podium. He has the draft and he has a couple more laps of racing action left for him to try and get it done. Pushing lap number 97 right now as Franklin still playing the patient game.
Wyatt Franklin is going about this all of the right ways. Just stay in the draft. Don't let Charlie Hosea get out in front and just maintain it. And now, if possible, early on, no, he backs it off. He backs off the throttle. Smart move. Don't need to make it this early because then that puts Charles Hosea into the window. And what has happened to Bailey Piotrowski?
Oh, no.
What in the world? He did not calculate enough fuel. Okay, my question is, why are you guys not using Crew Chief? Using the Crew Chief app. Seriously, it does auto fuel. It calculates how much you need. Oh my. I have a buddy who does that too, and it drives me kind of crazy that he doesn't use a tool that can just handle that for you. Oh no. That is unfortunate there because Bailey Piotrowski in this race was in second and now falls back down to seventh. Absolute scenes here as Charlie Hosea and now Wyatt Franklin move into the podium spots. And Stephen Hudick right now in that 4 spot, almost 4 seconds down, Ron. And that's an absolute heartbreaker once again for Bailey Piotrowski as we're on the white flag lap.
One more lap of racing action for Josh Shinsky to get this race win, and just set the fast lap of the race last time by as well. Wyatt Franklin jumping into what is now P2. These drivers were battling for the final podium spot. Now they're battling for the final 2 steps on the podium. They're side by side heading down that start-finish straightaway, coming to the Yard of the Bricks to take the white flag. The Yard of the Bricks, very nice work from me. That's side by side and contact being made, wheel to wheel, tire to tire, heading off through turn number 1. Hosea jumping into P2. Wyatt Franklin slipping back down to 3rd, but he's got one more opportunity to maybe get moved on at the front of the field. Josh Shinsky gonna grab the 3rd win of the season. He wins it here at the Brickyard, but the battle for P2 is still intense as they head their way off through the north end of the track for the final time. Hosea punching that hole in the air. Wyatt Franklin trying not to get affected by the air wash too badly, trying to get a run down this start-finish straightaway. Hosea dips the inside line. Franklin gonna have a monstrous run. It's a photo finish right to the line. Charlie Hosea got it at the end of it all, though. Wyatt Franklin is slotted in at P3. Should be known that Hosea, along with Leo Dergata, who's going to finish in 5th, both of our hard chargers up 7 spots from where they started in this race. Holy cow, though, that was a brilliant finish between Hosea and Wyatt Franklin. Not sure how that was judged at the line. According to iRacing, it was, looking through. Actually, no, it was not a photo finish. I believe Wyatt Franklin may have picked himself up a black flag of some sort right at the very end, because according to iRacing, he's being classed down in P5. So as much as he got the nose out and all of that, look at that brilliant photo finish. That's shorts material. If ever you see it, it's not going to go the way of Wyatt Franklin. He will be classed down in 5th as Josh Shinsky pulls off a cardinal sin, burning it down on the brickyard. He wins the race, but with this shameful act, I'm not going to give him any props for that.
Yeah, I think Wyatt Franklin had a 30-second time penalty because if I'm just looking at this correct, yeah, he would have been like a 27.7 race, and he or behind. Just looking at the iRacing tab here, results tab, that yeah, he had a 30-second time penalty for something. Interesting. Well, that was wow, an absolute crazy race here, Ron, and we had some interviews here coming up here very shortly.
Yeah, that we certainly will. I can already see our race winner, Josh Shinsky, after committing the cardinal sin here at Indy and burning it down on the yard of bricks. I mean, I remember when Ty Dillon did that at a NASCAR Xfinity Series race here back in, I think, 2015, and he got, man, people were not very pleased with Ty Dillon. I mean, granted, some of the stuff he's done out on track, I can't necessarily blame some people for thinking that way, but come on, burning it down on the yard of bricks, there is no bigger sin that he can commit in the racing world than to burn it down on the bricks here at Indianapolis. The final yard left after this track was paved with them all the way back in 1909, and wow, what a race here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for round number 3 of this championship. We're going to get those results loaded up here in a couple of moments. Time to break it all down after 100 laps of brilliant racing action from start to finish. It was a battle, and the battle is won by Josh Shinsky, the driver of the number 18 car. Started this race on the front row, and as drivers fell off all around him, he was able to weather the storm, hold on, and despite the fact he may not have had the fastest race car at certain points in time, he's the one grabbing the checkered flag at the end of it all. Charlie Hosea is going to finish in 3rd. Stephen Hudek grabbing a podium at the end of it all in 3rd. It's Leo Dragata finishing in 4th in front of Wyatt Franklin, who picks up a penalty right towards the end, possibly for incident points, not entirely sure, but nonetheless, he is classed in P5. Caleb Lehman, who definitely helped out Josh Shinsky with the draft right toward the end of this race, going to finish in a P6. Bailey Pietraszki, who did not help himself at all towards the very end, is going to finish in 7th. Eduardo Lorente is classed in P8. Stephen May is the last of the drivers to take the checkered flag, I believe, finishing in 9th, 6 laps down at the end of this race. Sophia Connell, Neil Weston, Jake Vasconcelos, Jake Mackey, and Joseph Gravala all end this race in pit lane after running into some difficulty. Sophia Connell with a heartbreaking mistake through into pit entry, on track for a race win. Neil Weston with a moment hang through turn number 2. Jake Vasconcelos and Jake Mackey coming to blows down the start finish straight away off into turn number 1, and Gravala bringing out the first yellow of this race with some drama down at the start finish straight away. So that will do it for the results. But Adam, we got some drivers looking to have a chat with us at the end of all of it. I will let you have first dibs on who you want to have a chat with first.
We're going to talk to our race winner, and that is Joshua Shinsky. Josh, I just want to make sure you can hear us all right here in the broadcast booth.
Yep, got you guys loud and clear.
Perfect. Well, first off, congratulations, a win around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Oval, and congratulations on that, and talk about your race from your point of view.
Oh, I mean, it's a great feeling first off winning around here. I mean, there's There's nothing like, regardless of whether it's the Indy 500, it's a league race, it's an official. There's nothing better than winning around the speedway. My race, I mean, it was a lot of strategy of where it was fuel saving. I knew there'd at least be one caution, and so it's that first 2 stints. It's always about, hey, you got to meet your fuel numbers. First stint worked great, of where I was able to ride behind Sophia for a little bit, but I thought that she was indicating with her car that she almost wanted to start doing drafting back and forth, and I got the wrong message. And so for the last half of the first stint, I led, which I didn't want to do. And the same thing with the second. I did not want to be in first. But yeah, really, then I just knew from that point on, after the second caution, I was like, hey, my fuel number is good. I could theoretically run rich all the way to the end. So now it's just do as much fuel save as I can to get to the point of where I only have to take enough fuel that would get me free tires. And that was the strategy I went with, and it worked. So I don't know what happened to Bailey. Wonder if he ended up just under fueling himself a little bit. And Sophia, I'll have to go back and watch because I have no idea what happened there. I was very surprised when I came out and was just on my own.
Well, and you had some help from your teammate with Caleb helping you out, and you had when Bailey Piotrowski came out of that, what would have been the final pit stop, you came out with an 8-second lead. So you were absolutely charging. You had some great help and from your teammate, and just talk about Caleb's, Caleb helping you out. Obviously wasn't in contention, but having that teammates for some assistance must have been great.
Yeah, I mean, who says that IndyCar is not a team game? It was. We couldn't have timed it better, and it wasn't intentional. I just knew, hey, Caleb, I'm going to stick behind you for the second to last stint, save a little bit of fuel. I'm going to pit a lap early so I have a clean pit entry. And that way he did too. We had no idea we were actually going to come out just back to back as well. We both nailed our stops. Caleb did great. Believe it or not, that was his first ever league race at an oval, and really first race oval period with an IndyCar. So I know he had some hiccups of passing on the inside at the start and going into a closed pit, but still really impressive for him to get back to 7th. And I mean, the pace that he showed to be able to keep up with all of us, considering it was his first race, I mean, he did a great job. So, and Jake had the pace too. Again, I'll have to go back and see what happened there. Really unfortunate that there was a caution that happened from that, but overall, I was really impressed with the speed of the SRT guys. Especially because most of them are fairly new to ovals.
And who would you like to thank for getting you to victory lane tonight?
Oh, well, first off, I got to thank SRT. You guys always push me to be the best that I possibly can. So I'm always putting in the time. Shout out to my friends, family who watched it. Mom, Dad, appreciate the support that you guys always show. Shout out to XMS for allowing us to host this fantastic series and try and fill in some of the gaps where I felt that there were in the IndyCar scene. And lastly, shout out to you guys with the SMB broadcast team. You guys are awesome. We've appreciated everything that you guys do, and we're looking forward to the next 6 races.
Well, congratulations, Joshua. You get the win tonight, and we will see you next week here on Slow Motion Broadcasting.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Josh Chinsky, our race winner. Well, Ron, I only see one other person up in the interview area, and that is the man who probably didn't expect the podium tonight, and that is going to be Stephen Hudek. And Stephen, congratulations on a 3rd place finish. Probably wasn't expected tonight, but talk about your race.
Yeah, definitely. Was not expecting to finish 3rd at the end. Some lucky penalties going my direction, I guess. Race wasn't too bad. The half was pretty good. Just staying in the draft train there, trying to save some fuel for later. Trying to save the tires as well. So I think that first set I didn't, the first round of pit stops I didn't take tires because it was only 10 laps fresh, so felt that was probably good to save something for later in the race. But That third pit stop, it messed up on the entry to the box. I was a little too far to the left, so I had to shimmy the car over, and that lost me a bunch of time. But I was trying to bank on another caution, but it never came the way. So I'll take the P3 for sure.
Well, you get a podium. Obviously, you've spent the last 2 weeks here at Indy. Just talk about the last 2 weeks as a whole for you.
Yeah, it was a nice little rebound after round one. So 2 P3 finishes will put me up into the points when the drop rounds takes effect at the end. So definitely good, and can always improve. Try to do a little bit better next week at Long Beach.
Well, who would you like to thank for getting you P3 here tonight?
I gotta thank my spotter for tonight, Jasper. He's been a real champ coming in and helping me out. And and thanks to you guys putting on a good show, and thanks to XMS for putting on a good race.
Well, congratulations, Steven. You finished third tonight, and we'll see you next week at Long Beach.
All right, thank you guys.
Steven Hudek, our third place finisher. Ron, we had a great race around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We had drama. We had good old-fashioned racing. And, of course, Joshua Chinsky is our race winner.
Yeah, and Chinsky definitely earned it. It was a game of survival all throughout this race here at Indianapolis, and he was the one that weathered the storm, whether it be those pit stops that played a huge role in this race, whether it be some of the incidents that these drivers got caught up in as well. It was just able to hold off at the end of it all to grab his first win of this season. It's now officially the second driver to grab a checkered flag thus far, after his teammate Dave Menino was able to grab the wins at Portland and Indy on the road course last time out. So it's his first win of this season. Commiserations also going out to Sophia Cano, who probably would have been the one grabbing the checkered flag if it weren't for that heartbreaking mistake heading into the pits right towards the very end. But Adam, we have to switch our attention now, going from the fastest, strongest, most insane race of them all to the tightest, twistiest, and most technical street course of them all, Long Beach, in 1 week's time. My, oh my, that's going to be a big change for these drivers.
Thank God there's no full course cautions at Long Beach. That's all I'm going to say.
You know what? Fair enough. I can't even necessarily blame you. That'll be fun for us in the commentary booth, probably not fun for the fabricators having to repair the damage on these race cars, and probably not very fun for these drivers' wrists as well, dealing with all the bumps and the bruises that you get around that track. Gonna be some fun racing action, and quick little heads up to any of you who are interested in seeing the next oval race. That'll be at Auto Club Speedway on June the 5th here, and you can catch all the action exclusively on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And here at SMB, the action really does not stop. We've got a lot of action coming up for you just about every single day, it feels like. Obviously, you can catch this series, the Xtreme Motorsports INDYCAR Championship Series, on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every single Thursday through to June the 18th. And then the day before, you can catch the action from the Sim Racers Group Intermediate F4 Championship. They are running in the final few races of their season. Those F4 races are usually pretty funny. You can catch that action on Wednesdays at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then come time for the weekends, we have got you absolutely jam-packed with the action from the Formula V Weekend Warriors on Saturdays at 3:20 p.m., followed in due course the day after with the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors at 1:45 and the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors at 3:45. XSLR, though, on Sundays at 8:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Adam, you're on those shows along with our producer, Mr. Joshua Wilkie. Happy to give us a nice little preview to those 87 Cup cars at Charlotte this upcoming weekend.
Well, if you loved what you watched tonight, you definitely want to tune in this Sunday, because now we're going unrestricted motor, old stock car racing around Charlotte Motor Speedway. And I expect a lot of the same what we saw tonight, maybe times 10, maybe on steroids, who knows. But you can definitely catch that out this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or whichever time we're in, daytime. I don't know where we're at anymore, but that is going to be an absolute absolute banger of a series. This is series 3 of the 4 that XSLR run per season, and you don't want to miss out because we're going to some awesome tracks. Charlotte Motor Speedway the week before the Coke 600, then we head to Talladega the next week, and these cars around Talladega, well, that's where they're at this week on iRacing. So go try them out for yourself and see if you can even survive the first lap.
And I believe I may potentially be out on track for the Daytona and Talladega races. So if any of you want to laugh your ears off seeing me wheel some of those 87 Cup cars around a NASCAR track, that's a good reason to subscribe here to Slow Motion Broadcasting and hit that notification bell. Thank you for that brilliant timing there, Josh, hitting that graphic right as I was bringing it up. But after a brilliant day of racing action, we have to look forward to that Long Beach race, 52 laps long in 1 week's time here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and hopefully all of you will be able to tune in to that race. But as for this broadcast today, for round number 3 of the Extreme Scoring IndyCar Championship Series here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Adam Thomsen joining me in the commentary booth, and Josh Wilkie doing a wonderful job working on the cameras in the virtual production hall or using cameras by Whiplash SimCams, I say thank you all so very much for watching this broadcast on SMB tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.